Hi everyone, welcome back. This is the Stitches Be Slippin podcast. My name is Melissa and I am Stitches Be Slippin on Instagram. I'm a little extra twitchy and weird today. I did take my ADHD meds this morning, but I don't know how hard they're working because I'm still a little bit all over the place today. So hopefully this isn't just a massive gong show. It's probably going to be a longer one. I have a lot of FOs and acquisitions to talk about, and just a few little life stories sprinkled in here and there. Mostly at the beginning because that's just the way I seem to roll. I kind of torture you and make you listen to all my life stories, and then I show you all the good stuff. So that's just how my brain works, I guess. It's been about 3 weeks, I think, since my last podcast, and that is because I was going to Chicago last weekend and I knew that I was going to have a lot to show after that. So that is coming up. I wanted to provide a little update on my last podcast. I mentioned that my grandma had COVID and she is doing fine. She, like I said, is 93. She is about to be 94 in June, and she got no symptoms, just had to stay in her room for, I don't know how long it was, probably at least a week, I think. And she's been released back into the Gen Pop, and she's great. She's had all of her vaccinations, all of the boosters, all of the everything. I don't know. We always thought that if she ever got COVID, she would go down hard because she was like a heavy chain smoker in previous years. She quit cold turkey after probably, I don't know, a good 30 or 40 years of smoking. Anyway, she has COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary, she has a hard time breathing. She's on oxygen 24 hours a day. So we thought, and she just coughs all day long. So we thought she would not survive if she got COVID, but she's still alive and kicking. She's, I think, probably going to outlive us all. And yeah, so thank you to anyone who commented that they would be sending nice thoughts and prayers and things for my grandma. She is just fine. Yeah, so it's really nice out. Oh, I didn't mention, yes, I'm in a different location in my house today. My backyard is south facing and it's so beautiful outside today. I think it's gonna be 26 or 27 degrees today. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, 84,700,000 or something. I don't know. Yeah, it's beautiful out today. And so my knitting room is on the north facing side of the house, and I wanted to be where the sun is because it's just nicer. So yeah, spring has sprung, summer, it's kind of summer here for this week anyway. It'll probably snow again next week just because this is Calgary and it's not even May long weekend yet. Spring sports for our kids have started. My son is playing soccer for the first year, so that's kind of fun. And my other son is playing ball hockey, which he's never played before, but he's playing with his little friend, so that's kind of fun. And yeah, it's been pretty nice. I think soccer, both played baseball last year, and that was our first kind of introduction to outdoor spring sports, which sometimes is amazing and sometimes you're freezing and thinking, when is this going to fucking end? So yesterday was really nice out for outdoor soccer practice, so that was nice. And yeah, so my husband and I went to Chicago just this past weekend. We got home the day before yesterday. We left on a Thursday, we came home on a Sunday. My kids stayed, my husband's mom, hi Dawn, if you're watching, thank you. She came over to our house and stayed with the boys so they could go to school on Thursday. She took them to school on Thursday and picked them up, and then she took them to school on Friday and then picked them up, and then she delivered them to my brother-in-law's house for the weekend. And yeah, I think some people would have just like said, go stay at grandma's for a day or two, but our kids are 8 and 10, they're in grade 3 and grade 4. So they're kind of in the age where they're kind of learning some important basic things that they need to build on. So I'm always worried if we like pull them out of school, and I'm always worried that they're gonna learn something really important that day and then be dumb for the rest of their lives. like maybe they're learning the difference between there, and there that day, or your and your, like, yeah, those are the things I worry about. But they had a great time with Grandma. Grandma brought her dog with her, and so they got to have the dog in the house for a little while. I don't think my cat really enjoyed that because she gets kind of locked in the basement while there's other pets here because she doesn't mix well with others, but she's okay now. She was very happy when we came home. What else? Yeah, so Chicago, we got there on Thursday. If I get permission from my husband, I will put a few pictures up here as I'm talking. On Thursday, we got there and we got there fairly early, around lunchtime, so we were able to kind of wander around. Our hotel was right across from Millennium Park, which is where the Bean is, or what's it called? Cloud Gate, I think, like the big silver reflecty bean. That's what it looked like. So we were right across from there, and Millennium Park is quite a beautiful big park, so we kind of wandered around there, and then we went to a Chicago White Sox game that night, and that was really fun. We took the subway, it was super easy, and we were so confused because like we're used to the only professional sport we have here, like I think, is the Calgary Flames, the NHL team. We don't have Major League Baseball here. We don't have basketball. We don't have football. Well, we have a CFL team, the Stampeders, so that's kind of this Calgary Stampeders, so that's sort of. Anyway, anytime we go to a Flames game or a Stampeders game or whatever, it's just like it's packed because these are the only professional sports we have, so everyone goes to all the games. So this was a Chicago White Sox game, beginning of the season. I think they play, I don't know, they play like 100 games a season or something like that. So there was barely anyone there. We were so confused. We were like, what time should we get on the subway? It's like gonna be close to rush hour and like all these people are gonna be going. And there was no one. I don't know, maybe like there were 1,000 people in the stands, maybe. So that was really nice, actually, because we had already bought fairly good seats. We were probably about, I don't know, 20 rows up or something like that. So it was fun. We're not like huge baseball fans, but we would rather go and like sit and eat hot dogs, and my husband had some beer, I had some popcorn. It was a little cold, but it was really fun. It's a cool, just relaxed vibe at a baseball game. And yeah, so then the next day he had his meetings. We were there for his business trip. So he had his meetings all day Friday, so that was my yarn curl day. And I had big plans. Unfortunately, the yarn stores, and I knew this ahead of time, the yarn stores don't open until like, one opened at 11, the rest of them open at noon. And the one that opened 11 was kind of the farthest one away, so that didn't work. So I had to wait till noon to go to the first one, and I spent a lot of time there, and I went to the second one and went to the third one, and I was running out of time. I needed to be back because we had to get ready and go. We had other plans for dinner that night. So I only made it to 3. I had 5 on my list, so I only made it to 3. But I still did some serious damage, and I will show you all my acquisitions later in my acquisitions section, but I sure did a good job. Like, it was the day before local yarn store day. Unfortunately, I would have loved to do my yarn curl day on local yarn store day. But unfortunately, Friday was my only free day. We had all kinds of plans on Saturday. So, but yeah, it was really fun. They're really nice yarn stores. Everyone that I went to was really nice and had like different things, and it was fun to go to somewhere that carries different lines than what you're used to. Still, I bought a little bit of hand dyed, mostly commercially dyed, or like anyway, just stuff that the stores here don't have, or the stores that are close to me don't have, and I really like to see and squish and whatever in person, so that was really fun. What else was I going to tell you about that? I'll talk more about that when I talk about my acquisitions. So Friday night after the yarn crawl, we got all dressed up and went out to a very fancy dinner. Again, if I get permission, I will put a picture up here of our fancy dress, my fancy dress, and my husband's nice suit that he was looking super fine. We went to a very fancy, like, Michelin star I don't know. I'm not a foodie. It was the whole dinner was kind of wasted on me because I am not a fancy food kind of gal. It was 10 courses of food about this big on your plate. And I did try everything. I wasn't the person that was just like, ew, I'm not gonna eat that. I did try everything. Didn't like most of it, but I fully respect people who are foodies and love 10-course fancy meals, and I have full respect for the chef who like takes all this time. We were close, we could see into the kitchen from where we were, and it looked like a surgical like operating room, like the precision that they were doing things with. So I appreciated it, but it wasn't necessarily my jam. And then afterwards, we went to a piano bar, which was pretty cool. Yeah, and then Saturday we went on a really fun riverboat cruise. It was raining and cold, so we were very thankful that the organizers of the trip booked us on a covered riverboat. And we had brunch, and we sailed down the river through the downtown, through all the skyscrapers. It was an architectural cruise, so there was someone on the speaker talking about all the skyscrapers, and that we couldn't really hear it, so we were just kind of all visiting and appreciating, and it was really nice. It was very fun. Again, if I get permission, I'll post a picture of us on our riverboat. We did go outside to get pictures. We got to the very kind of outskirts and turned around, and then all of downtown was behind us, or in front of us, so we stood with it behind us and got some really nice pictures. And yeah, and then that night we had our Prohibition night, which I've been talking about on this podcast for quite a while. We had to dress up in 1920s era Prohibition style, like flopper dresses, gangster suits, and we found out about a week or so ahead of the trip that we were doing a murder mystery that night in our Prohibition era costumes. Some people were very excited about it and into it and did a great job. Again, like, not to be a wet blanket, but it's just not my jam. Like, I am not an actor. I am not an improv. Like, if anything I learned from that evening of murder mystery was I would absolutely bomb at improv. Somebody would say something to me, I'd be like, yeah. And also, like, the way my brain works, again, I have ADHD, so they give you this big long thing about your character, and you do this and this, and this person does this person, you're related to this person, and there are like 10 of us, so there's 10 different characters. I'm trying to keep track of who is who and who knows who and all this, like, it just, like, I couldn't remember all that stuff. And then after a little while they give you an update, and it's like, you need to talk to this person, and you saw this person and this person getting it on in the back room, and blah blah blah, and I couldn't keep track of it all. When I filled out the survey, there was a survey we had to fill out saying what kind of character you would like to be and like stuff about yourself. And I requested a strong female character, and the character I was given was a slutty cocktail waitress. So I guess that was a strong female character in the 20s, I guess, maybe. Yeah. So my husband's character, sorry, I have the patio door open because it's really nice out, so I think somebody is rolling in their garbage cans right now across the alley. My husband's character was someone that I had cheated on my husband with, my character's husband. I had cheated on with my husband. His name was Nick in the murder mystery. I was Margaret in the murder mystery, and he was Nick. And so I went over to talk to him and someone else at one point during the whole thing. And he's like, Margie! And I spit out my drink in his face because it was hilarious. And so now we're like, those are our alter egos. We're Nick and Margie. I don't know if anyone out there has watched Modern Family, but Phil and Claire have this thing in Modern Family where they go out to a bar and like have their alter egos, and he picks her up at a bar, or she picks him up at a bar, and they go get a room. So this is our plan from now on, that we're gonna be Nick and Margie. Those are our alter egos. So yeah, that was our trip. We got up at 5:45 the next morning to fly home. We were home by lunchtime, which was nice, but we were exhausted for sure. And I was exhausted. I am a massive introvert, and so 3 days of visiting and going places and doing things was draining for me for sure. So I was almost mute on Sunday when we got home for the whole day. I was just like, I can't talk anymore. We picked up our kids and they wanted to go play and do things, and both of us were like, oh, we're so tired. I also then found out that my older son had a field trip yesterday, and they had some volunteers cancel last minute, so I ended up going on the field trip yesterday. I was so looking forward to having just like a nice relaxing day where I don't have to talk to anybody all day while they're at school. And then I ended up going on a field trip with his grade. He's in grade 4, so 2 grade 4 classes. I think there were 42 kids on the bus. It was a 1-hour bus ride there and a 1-hour bus ride home. So that was very opposite of what I thought my day was going to be like, but it was a fun trip. We went to a ranch in Longview, well, close to Longview, Alberta, which is in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. It was absolutely beautiful. I'll try to put in either a picture or like a video or something here. It was really nice. So they were learning about, I don't know, cows and ranches, and they learned about crocuses, which are the first spring flowers to come up, and they learned a little bit. I was quite impressed, actually. I didn't know what to expect. The whole, when one thinks of the people who do ranching and farming, they don't necessarily think of, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, the woman was very intentional in acknowledging that the land that they were ranching on was Stoney Nakoda Nation land, Blackfoot land. She told some stories, and I was very impressed with that, and not that she didn't just glaze over that whole history and just say, you know, the Europeans came and settled this land and that's it. There were people there before, and I was very happy that she had acknowledged that. Anyway, I am rambling. I've been talking for 20 minutes, and I'm going to start talking about knitting and yarn and things, so hopefully you're still awake. First I'll start with what I'm wearing. This is the Easy Teasy by Allison Cribbs. It is a DK weight t-shirt. It actually knits up quite well. It is a very interesting construction that I had never done before, but if you want to make this, it's very different from anything you've ever made, but it's not hard. Just follow the pattern instructions and trust the pattern instructions and you will be fine. I made this second size, and if I made it again, which I do want to make it again because it's a really nice spring summer top, I would make the smaller size. The neckline is really quite big, but it's good. It's a good hangy, drapey. Sorry, try and stand up here. Anyway. It's I used Juniper Moon yarn on the Zoe base. It's Zooee Zoe, and it's 60% cotton and 40% linen. It definitely felt a little bit crunchy when I was working with it, but it is so it doesn't feel crunchy now. It's softened up as I was knitting it. I don't even remember if I actually blocked it. I probably did. I made this 1 summer ago or 2 summers ago maybe. But yeah, I would definitely recommend using this yarn because it's really nice and drapey. It's cotton and linen, so it's not hot. It's great for wearing in the spring and summer. And yeah, it was a really fun knit. My earrings are by an indigenous artist that I cannot name because I bought these in BC, I don't know, a year or 2 ago, and the label is long gone and I have no idea who it is. But they're little dream catchers and with a little feather on the bottom. They're so light. If it wasn't hitting me when I moved like this, I wouldn't even know that I was wearing them. They're super light. And yeah, that's what I'm wearing. So now we'll move into FOs, or finished objects. I went a little t-shirt crazy over the last few weeks. I was at work one day at Polka Dot Creek, and at Polka Dot Creek we also carry Creek Gardens Crafts yarn, which is 100% Pima cotton. Creek Gardens Crafts is Penny, who is Shelly's mom. Shelly is the owner of Polka Dot Creek. So we have both lines of yarn there. And Penny is trying to move out of the yarn dyeing business. She also does a lot of other things. She makes t-shirts, she makes sweatshirts, she makes stitch markers, she makes project bags, and she's trying to move away from the cotton yarn dyeing. So she put all her yarn on clearance. And sorry, my cat is unhappy about something. Yeah, so I bought some DK weight Pima cotton from Penny and took it home, and I had it, oh no, now she's puking. Okay, I'll be right back. Sorry about that. She has a very sensitive tummy, and I had the door to downstairs, which is kind of her lair, closed, and I think she panicked. She's very sensitive. So anyway, I had a very specific idea in mind for a t-shirt that I wanted to make. I wanted to make stripes. And when Penny brought in her clearance yarn, she had the exact colors that I had in mind. And so that is what I did. I made, oh, it's all wrinkly because it was folded. This is my little striped t-shirt that I made. I used the Cozy Classic Raglan pattern by Jessie May. It is a DK weight pattern, so this worked perfectly. The only modifications I made were obviously stripes and short sleeves. Oh, and I added some short rows in the back at the bottom to make the back a little bit longer. And yeah, so I just did 8 rows of natural and 2 rows of toffee. Those are the color names. So I did everything else normal. Well, I don't like the really long collar. I prefer a shorter collar. So the ribbing on the collar is, I don't know, maybe an inch, a little bit less than an inch. And then I did the short rows on the back and then started striping. I don't love the way that the method that I was using to join for jogless stripes. Clearly it's not jogless and you can see, but I can't remember even what, I just Googled it and I opened the first video and that's what I did, and that's probably not what I'll do in the future. But anyway, it turned out really great. It's again, not hot because it's 100% cotton, and it drapes so beautifully. It's very comfy. Oh, the other thing with cotton is that it doesn't, like, when you make something, when you make something with wool or it has wool content or whatever, when you do the ribbing, it cinches in. But with cotton, it doesn't have that sort of memory or whatever, so it just stays where it is. So when you're doing ribbing, the ribbing doesn't cinch in. So I used a larger needle than the pattern called for in this. I used a 5mm needle because that's just what I used. I think I was making the smallest size, so I used one size bigger needle just to kind of land in between the two sizes. So I used a 5mm needle. I used a 4.5mm needle for this ribbing. And that worked out fine because it's the collar and the collar stretches, and that's fine. When I bound off the sleeves, oh, and the hem ribbing is fine too. Like, I don't want that to cinch in. I sometimes don't go down a needle size for ribbing depending on the pattern because I don't want it to cinch in. But on the sleeves I do. These are fairly decent sized sleeves because there hadn't been any decreases yet. So when I pick up for, when I put my sleeve stitches that were on hold back on my needles, I always pick up an extra, like you pick up the number of stitches that you cast on, and then I always pick up an extra stitch on each side, and then decrease those 2 extra stitches in the first round. And then that leaves not huge gaps, and then I don't have to sew in the gaps around the sleeves. That's an Andrea Mowry tip. So I did this ribbing in the 4.5mm needle and bound it off, and when I bound it off, it was not flaring, but it was not like sucking in like this. So I ripped out the bind off and went down even more needle sizes. What did I go down to? I went down to a 3.5mm needle. So that's from a 5mm to a 3.5mm needle. It was like 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 needle sizes down. I did 1 round of ribbing in the smaller needle size, and then I bound it off, not tightly, but not as loosely as I normally would. And then that worked. Oh, I forgot to mention, I decreased, then I did a round and I decreased again, then I did a round, and then I did the ribbing. So there's like, I think maybe 4 rows before I started the ribbing, if you're looking for a recipe to make a striped tee. So that is my story on that one. I took the yarn home on Thursday after work, and it was done by Saturday evening. It just kind of like DK weight, no sleeves. It just flew off my needles. Absolutely flew. Oh, and the short rows on the bottom, I took those from the Love Note pattern because that pattern also has short rows in the back to make the back a little bit longer. And I just looked I knew how many stitches I had, circumference, and I just looked for a size in that pattern that had the same amount of stitches and just used the number of going back and forth for the German short rows. So that is that. And then the next week I went back to work, and we were just dyeing yarn as usual, as we do. and we were dyeing. We have a new color, newish color that's been out for a little while called eucalyptus. And a few episodes ago, maybe, I brought home 2 skeins of fingering and 2 skeins of mohair on eucalyptus, which I haven't used yet, but I have plans. But we were dyeing a bunch of it, and we dyed it on DK tweed. And I was like, well, that would make a really nice cozy classic raglan t-shirt as well. So I brought 2 skeins of that home with me on that Thursday. When was that? Anyway, on the Thursday, and it was done again by Saturday evening. So same thing, cozy classic raglan, no stripes, obviously. I didn't even alternate skeins. That's how good we are at dyeing yarn. Anyway, yeah, same thing. Cozy classic raglan, same like sleeves. This one I just did like the 4.5 millimeter for the ribbing on the collar and the sleeves and the bottom, because again, this is wool, so it cinches in. And I did the short rows in the back. You can't really tell, but I have pictures of me actually wearing these on my Instagram feed if you want to go check them out. So anyway, yes, I said I was at work dyeing this. This is Polka Dot Creek yarn. The base is DK tweed, which is, I don't know, I can't remember what the exact content is, but I think it's like maybe 85 merino and then 15 neps. I can't remember. If you want to buy some, go to the Polka Dot Creek website and it will list it's like a standard DK tweed base. And the color is called eucalyptus. It is beautiful, beautiful, like green, grayish green. It's so pretty. And it matches my eyes. I don't know if you can't really see, but I have a picture on my Instagram feed of me wearing it and it matches my eyes perfectly. Yeah, I'm a green-eyed girl. What else have I got for FOs? I have just a stack of hats that I made. I was in a mood for cranking a few weeks ago. So I was just watching, I can't even remember what I was watching. I was watching some series on something, and I just have a giant bag full of worsted weight yarn from Michaels, like Red Heart, what is it? I don't even remember. Super Saver maybe, Bernat, Premium, that kind of stuff. So that's what most of these are, except for one. I made this gray one. And again, what I do, this is on my Centro 48 needle knitting machine. I just cast on and crank, I think I go 140 rows. And then I bind it off and I cinch each end, attach it, and then it's attached here. So it's just a long tube and fold it over and boom, you've got a toque hat. Bob's your uncle. I was watching Grocery Girls yesterday and Tracy was saying Bob's your uncle. Then I made this one. It's kind of an interesting sort of color. It's sort of a brownie, purpley brownie, gray, same thing. And then I made this one. This is coming up a little brighter, but it's like an orangey red. And then this one it's sort of fluffy. You can sort of see that little halo there. It doesn't have mohair or anything. It's still 100% acrylic, but I think this was a Red Heart of some sort in a sort of like a light pink. Yeah, and then if you remember, I was inspired by what's her pickle? What's her name? Wool Needles Hands podcast. She has a Centro as well, and she was cranking three strands of fingering together to make a toque. I think 1 or 2 episodes ago, I cranked a skein of DK and a skein of sport weight spin cycle together, and it didn't really work out the way I wanted. So I tried the 3 strands of fingering weight, and it went really well. This is how it turned out. So my only problem with this, when I was cranking it with 3 strands of fingering weight, was it was quite, I don't know if it was thicker than a normal, but just having all those strands, I don't know, there was something about it. It kept dropping stitches. So I kept just putting little stitch markers in every time it would drop a stitch. And so afterwards, I just had to kind of like put some yarn through and then weave in where it had dropped. So that was kind of a pain in the butt, but it turned out really nice. I held together 3 strands of hand-dyed fingering weight yarn. These were all just like leftovers that I had in my stash from other things that I've made. This one is, this was Hypothesis yarn from a love note that I made. This is, I think, Yarn Ink. And this one, I'm not sure. I think it might be Polka Dot Creek in silver, but it might also be Yarn Ink. I can't remember. They're, like I said, they're all leftovers, so they didn't have any tags with them. So I held those 3 together to make that. So I was very happy with how that turned out. I have a lot of like half skeins and stuff of fingering weight yarn in there, so that is going to be an amazing way to use all those up. It's a little small. It's probably more of a kid's size. Those worsted weight ones are quite thick, so they just naturally end up bigger because the yarn is bigger. So this is, I'm also a bit of a freak when I'm cranking. I'm always worried that it's too loose, so I'm holding onto it too tight, and then they end up really tight. So I am trying to like, let it go, let it go. And yeah, I don't know how many things of garbage they're gonna roll in over there, but it is garbage day. I was thinking, maybe I'm gonna like go full on Grocery Girls here and have a garbage truck roll by while I'm doing this. But no, it's just the neighbors rolling around their garbage bins. Okay, those are all my FOs. I also have a couple whips, and then it's acquisition time. So I think I showed the beginnings of this one last time. This is my bag that my mama made me. Oh, fuck, it's good. It looks so good. You can see all the sparkly cork, and you can see the Tula pink with the skulls on the butterflies and neons. This bag just floats my boat in all the ways. And it has rainbow things inside, which is gorgeous. And this is a shop sample that I'm making for Shelly for Polka Dot Creek. We have a yarn festival coming up in June on Worldwide Knit in Public Day, which is amazing. And this is going to be a sample at our booth at the yarn festival, and then just in the shop. She wanted something like springy and whatever, so she picked out the colors. I mentioned this last time. We started out with a different shawl pattern and it just wasn't working out. So then we switched to this. This is the Painting Waves shawl by Stephen West. And again, I forgot to put needle stoppers on, or stitch stoppers on the end of my needles. So anyway, I'll just hold it up and hopefully none of my stitches will fall off. Okay, that is how far I've gotten. I only have, I think I have like almost 3 full repeats left. But that's like, each repeat is like 64 rows or something like that. So I'm a ways to go. I'm probably only about halfway through, and it looks a little smooshy, but once it blocks out, you'll be able to see all the beautiful eyelets and the waves. It's so springy and colorful. It's so much fun to knit. It's quite easy to knit too. It's like, I don't know, there's a 4-row repeat for the contrast colors and a 4-row repeat for the main color, and that's it. And really only one of those rows is something where you actually have to pay attention when you're doing like the eyelets, when you're doing the increases for that row and then decreases for here. That's only one row. So it's really fun. So I am doing well on that. This is all Polka Dot Creek yarn. The main color is Sugar Cookie. And all of the colors, all of the contrast colors are, I think all of the contrast colors, or close to, are the speckles in a Sugar Cookie. So it's a bit of a dog's breakfast in there because there are a lot of minis in there and a lot of strands of yarn floating around. So I will just tell you what the colors are. So this is, and now I forgot, Sunshine, I think, or Duckling. Oh shoot, I can't remember. This is either Sunshine or Duckling. I think it's Duckling. I think I said on my last podcast. And this one is Carnation. This one is Lipstick. Oh, and then I'm going back down that repeat again. So the yellow, this is Bright Aqua, this is Lilac, and this is Hydrangea. So those are all the colors. And it's very fun, I'm using my Luca Like a Leaky, whatever they're called, my little wooden tips with my Lantern Moon stainless steel cables that don't curl. Yeah, that's a long story from previous episodes if you want to check that out. And that is that for that. Is my one whip, and my other whip I have lost. Where did it go? Oh, it's right here. I brought this with me to Chicago. I cast it on so that I could work on it on the plane and in the hotel. I wanted something kind of like easy that I wasn't gonna have to pay too much attention to. So this is the Pure Joy shawl by Joji Locatelli. This was influenced by the Nitty Stew, so thank you, Leanne. She has actually heavily influenced me a lot recently. She makes a lot of beautiful things. If you haven't watched the Nitty Stew podcast, please do. She is an amazing, beautiful knitter. She is a flight attendant, and her podcasts are so lovely. She takes you to all of the places that she flies and goes to the yarn stores and tells you all about all these places in Canada. It's really awesome. So if you haven't been to Canada or you want some travel ideas in Canada, go check her out. And she's also an amazing knitter. Anyway, she made a Pure Joy shawl recently, and I love Joji shawls, Joji Locatelli. So this is what I'm making. This is it's kind of hard, it's garter stitch, so it's a little, once it blocks out, it's gonna look a lot nicer. Anyway, my main color here, let me show the shawl first. Again, no needle stoppers. When will I learn? So my main color is this blue. It's meant for just two colors. So it's meant for like one color, one main color, and then the contrast color is the eyelet stripes, and then there's a big band of the contrast color at the end. I'll put a picture up here of her pattern sample, and that will give you a better idea. But the yarn that I had that I wanted to use for it, I had 100 grams of the blue, and then I had a 50 gram of the gray, and then a 50 gram of another color this yellow is going to be the thick band at the end. I just decided these are all the same base from the same dyer, and I wanted to use them all together. I really, really wanted to do the blue and the yellow together, but I didn't have enough of the yellow to do all the stripes and the band at the end. So I decided, I also had a 50 gram of this gray, so I decided I'll use the 50 gram for the gray stripes, for the eyelet stripes, and then I'll use the yellow for the band at the end. I'm probably still not gonna have enough yarn for the thick band at the end, but I'll just go until I run out and then bind off. Well, till just before I run out, and then I'll bind off. So it's a very simple, easy thing to do. You're just basically doing short rows to make wedges, and every once in a while it's really light in here, so You can't see very well, but there's a wedge, and then every once in a while after you finish a wedge, you do a row of eyelets in the contrast color. So I have done, I'm just trying to put it against something so you can see it a little better. So I've done 1, 2, 3. I've just done the 4th row of eyelets. So I'm on my 4th wedge. Is that right? Yeah. And then there's a 5th wedge, and then the thick band at the end. So here's my yarn. This is all a non-superwash BFL fingering base by Allison Barnes yarn. She is a local Alberta dyer up in Edmonton. The base is just 100% Blue Face Leicester BFL wool, non-superwash. And the blue is called Lake Like Glass. It's a beautiful, beautiful color. The gray, which I had, and it's really nice. I got these at, was it Prairie Fiber Festival, I think, in Lacombe last fall. It was really nice because she had 50-gram skeins of all these different colors. So I just bought, I think I bought a full 100-gram skein of the blue. I bought a full 100-gram skein of a couple, and then 50-gram skeins of a couple, and all that kind of went together. Not having a plan, but knowing I would put them together in some way. So the gray is called Skipping Stones. Again, all the same base, 100% BFL fingering. And then this is the yellowish kind of chartreusey sort of color that's going to be the main big thick band at the end, and it is called Moss. So it is going to be so pretty with this as like a big thick band at the end. Again, you'll be able to picture it better after I have put that picture in of the final, what the final project is going to look like. Yeah, so I'm excited about that, but I just cast that on because I needed something simple to knit while I was traveling, and now I have all this yarn from Chicago and I just want to knit it. I have to finish my sample for Shelly, that's the most important thing, but I have so much yarn over here. I have a whole suitcase full of yarn. When I start talking about acquisitions, I'll show you a picture, but like, I'm not super motivated to keep working on the shawl now because I have all these shiny new things. And yeah, anyway, I'm going to try to keep working on it. This is my project bag from Daydreams of Quilts. That is the name of the maker. I think she has an Etsy shop, but she might have her own website. I cannot remember. I will put a link down below. I'll put a link down below for all of the makers, all of the patterns, everything, all the yarns. This is my notebook that I use for keeping track of like tally marks and things like that. I just pick a page. So this was my novice cardigan. This was the striped Cozy Classic raglan. This was a gift from my lovely friend Karen, who lives in Brooklyn, and I am going to meet for the first time in person in like 2 weeks. My calendar's on the wrong month over there. This is, can you see over here? This is our like family calendar with all the things on it, everyone's activities. Anyway, this was from Karen. We finally get to meet in Montreal at Knit City. We've been friends online for years, but have never met in person. So she sent me this. We are both huge Golden Girls fans. Sorry, I keep like cutting off the top of my head and then having to like shrink back down. We're both huge Golden Girls fans. So she sent me this notebook and I was like, okay, this has to be my thing that I use for all my knitting. And recently I was on, what page was I on? This was the green eucalyptus t-shirt that I was making. I was keeping track of all my increases, but this was my favorite page so far. It says, it's a Dorothy quote. It's one of my favorite Dorothy quotes. It says, "You truly are one chromosome away from being a potato." Talking to Rose, of course. Anyway, this notebook just brings me so much joy because I love the Golden Girls and there's all these funny quotes in it, and it makes me think of Karen. So that is that. And those are all my whips currently. I finished my secret project that I was making for Mother's Day. I finished that on the school bus yesterday. So that was a first for me. I've never knitted on a school bus before. It was adventurous. It was very bumpy. It was very noisy, but meh. The mom that I was sitting with, her son and my son are really good friends. I was sitting with on the bus. She's a nurse and she used to knit a lot when she worked in hospitals and did night shifts and stuff. And so she was not admiring, but like she could appreciate that I was knitting on a school bus, not thinking it was super weird. Okay, so clap, clap. Those are all my whips, FOs, etc. I am going to talk about acquisitions now, and there are a lot of them. I do have a giveaway coming up at the end, so if you want to stop watching now, I understand. If you are not into like the gluttony of buying all the yarn from all the yarn stores, I totally get it. I have been saving up for a long time for my Chicago trip and my Montreal trip, and I have like, no, this is my notebook of like notes for like show notes and stuff for my podcast, but I have like a piece of paper that has all the patterns and everything that I wanted to buy for when I was in Chicago, when I go to Montreal. And that the purpose of that is just so that I don't go in and just entirely shit the bed and buy the entire store, because that's what I would do if I didn't have a plan. If I didn't have projects and like yardage for projects, I would just go in and be like, ooh, that's pretty. I'll just buy 2 of that, or I'll just buy 4 of that. I'll just buy a sweater quantity of that, and then I'll figure out something to make with it. I need to go in with a plan, or else I either don't buy anything because I'm like overwhelmed with all of the options and can't think in the moment because just my brain is just going crazy, or I just buy it all. I did buy a lot, but I have plans for all of the things that I bought. So when I went to Chicago, well, actually first I'll talk about a few other acquisitions previous to Chicago. They're not very many. I got my cotton yarn from Penny for my striped t-shirt. I got my DK tweed yarn from Polka Dot Creek for my green t-shirt. And then I also got, I mentioned at the end of my podcast last time that Hypothesis Yarns was doing, she's a yarn dyer out in Nova Scotia, out on the east coast of Canada, and she was doing a D-stash. She doesn't dye yarn anymore, but she was doing just a personal D-stash out of her own stash. So I got a few things from her, and I'm not gonna hold up all of these. There's 5 of these. It's Kama Rose, and it's called Love Tanned, and I'm sure that's not how it's pronounced, but that's how I'm gonna pronounce it. And it is 100% linen, and it's a DK weight. It seems very light. It's categorized as a DK weight, I think, on Ravelry. How many? It's 140 meters per 50 grams, and I can't convert that in my head to yards, but it's a very light DK. I'm assuming that since I don't know if maybe it's gonna bloom or what. Anyway, I was interested. It's not crunchy at all. It's like a chainette construction, so it's not just like pokey linen everywhere. It feels quite nice. I have a feeling it's gonna feel a lot like this when it's knit up. So yeah, I didn't have a plan when I bought that, but it was just such a good deal. I like Googled how much it costs regular, and it was such a good deal I had to get it because I don't have a lot of like non-wool yarn, and I like trying new things. and I've been very into like t-shirts, tank tops, that kind of like spring, obviously, because that 'tis the season. So I thought this would be good for making some sort of spring top. So there are 5 of these, and it was a screaming deal. The other thing that was like even more of a screaming deal is she was destashing an actual sweater that she made. So last episode, my friend Karina was destashing a cardigan that she made, and I scored. And then I scored again with this sweater. This is also a Cozy Classic Raglan, also short sleeves. I bought this from her before I made those 2 short sleeve t-shirts. But yeah, this is, like I said, she used to be a yarn dyer. So this is all yarn that she dyed, and it's like a fade, and it has like little neon pops in it. Anyway, this is the yarn, or this is the sweater that she was destashing. Can you believe this? Oh my God, it is so beautiful. It's like a fade from light with green speckles and some neon speckles and into a darker. Oh, it's so gorgeous. And she's such a beautiful knitter. It's, she did the like tubular cast on, and she did like the tubular bind off. I never do that shit. So now I have a sweater that has like the tubular cast on and the tubular bind off, and I can look like all soups profesh, and it's all a farce. I don't do that. I am too lazy. I don't care. But now I have one that looks like I am not too lazy and I do care. So anyway, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Also a steal. Like, I think she wanted $30 for it. I was like, what? That's not one even skein of yarn. But yeah, it's mine now. Yay. Thank you. Hypothesis Yarns. I don't know her name, unfortunately. I should have looked that up before I talked about her. Okay, now getting into Chicago. My first yarn store that I went to was like a 10-15 minute walk from my hotel. So that was perfect. I walked there and then I Ubered to the other 2 places. On my way to this first one, there was a CVS. So I quickly popped in there and bought myself some Dove chocolates because we don't have those here in Canada. So anybody out there who enjoys my content and lives in the US, you are free to send me milk chocolate, Dove chocolate anytime you want. I bought a bag of just the milk chocolate ones, and I bought a bag of the milk chocolate with caramel inside. That bag is gone already. Full disclosure, I ate the whole thing. Yeah, so I did that, and then I went to Yarnify. It was my first stop in Chicago. They were a very lovely little yarn store. They had mostly commercial yarn, but they did have some hand-dyed yarn, some local hand-dyed yarn, which was really cool. They had a bunch of really cool project bags that were made by local makers. They had some pins and stuff that were made by local makers, which were awesome. I bought a couple of the pins. They were actually, I think one of their employees actually made these pins. This is their store mascot named Sheepy. And of course it's rainbow because rainbow, pride. And it's awesome. And so I bought that. And then they also had all of the different pride flags. So like just the regular rainbow. They had like all the like lesbian, bi, all the things. So I bought the trans flag. And they're, of course, the knitted flag. So knit stitches and the trans flag colors. So I bought that. Oh, and that reminds me, this isn't something I bought there. I bought this actually when we went to Kentucky last year. When we went to the Kentucky Derby last year, it was right around the time where the documents had been leaked that the Supreme Court was considering overturning Roe v. Wade. And so I bought this pin to wear in my fascinator hat to wear to the Derby. So I also wore it on the lapel of my jacket the whole time I was in Chicago. It says "Another Mom for Abortion Rights." So I also wore that everywhere I went in Chicago. And what did I buy at Yarnify? My first thing that I got is this cute project bag. And it says Knit Together on it. It is made by, it's called Stashams Markhams, handmade by Leslie. I'll show you the card because you can't really see that little tag. I'm not sure. Oh, she's got an email address on there. I'm not sure if she has a website or Etsy shop, but she had lots of project bags in the Yarnify website store, actual physical brick and mortar store. So anyway, it's got yarn balls and knitting, and I just really liked the colors. They had lots of like sheep themes and knitting themes and other stuff, and it also comes with matching stitch markers, so that was kind of fun. It's also reversible, I think. This is the orange inside. I will keep it this way just because this is how I like to knit. Perfect drawstring, which we all know that's my fave. And the first quantity that I bought there are these. This is Rowan Soft Yak DK. This is the color. It doesn't say what color it is. Cream, that's what it says, cream. So it's like a creamy beige. It's a DK weight, obviously, and it is yak, 76% cotton, 15% yak, 9% nylon. So it's quite soft. It is also like a chainette, what do you call it? Construction, that's the word I'm looking for. So I bought 4 or 5 of these to make a DK weight top, like a spring, like a short sleeve probably. The one that I did have in mind, I think for this one, I had 2 in mind for this one that I haven't decided yet. One is the Colette tee, so I'll put a picture up of that one. And the other one, that one has more of like a turtleneck. And the other one is Pillars of Simplicity. And I will put that one up here as well. That one's more of a V-neck. I've discovered that I think 95% probably of my knits all have collars that go up to here. And when it's a spring or summer top or whatever, I want to wear it and then like wear it under a cardigan or something else. So I'm looking to make more like scoop necks or V-necks or whatever. And I think that Pillars of Simplicity pattern will be good for that. So that is my first one, my first set of yarn that I bought at Yarnify with that bag. I also, this one was a total impulse. I'm gonna be totally honest. This one was complete impulse. I had no intention of buying this, but they had a sample, a cardigan sample. Oh shoot. I'm again recording on my phone because it makes better videos than my laptop. And I took a picture of the sample and like the tag they had attached to the sample with the name of the pattern. It was a beautiful cardigan made with this yarn in this color, and not a color I would have ever bought for myself, but I picked up the cardigan and I put it on, and the color looked, I mean, I'm just gonna be not humble here, and like it looked amazing on me. So it was a pretty cardigan. It's like a very large gauge, so airy, and this is the yarn. It's from the Fiber Co. or the Fiber Company, which I saw in, I think, every yarn store that I went to, and I've never seen here. I'm not sure where they're based out. It says made in Peru, so I'm not sure if the yarn is made in Peru, if the company is in Peru, I don't know. I was assuming that it's an American company, but it could also be, you know, anywhere else. But they have, the Fiber Company has so many different bases that I squished and like I wrote down, I think this is the only fiber company that I bought. That's not true. I have another one over there. They have lots of really, really nice bases. So that is in the back of my mind now when I'm thinking about other things that I want to get, and try and see if I can find it in Canada so I don't have to pay exchange rate and don't have to pay shipping. Well, I still have to pay shipping, but not like insane shipping from America. Anyway, this is called Zero. And you can see it's light and fluffy, which is my favorite. It's considered a sport weight, and it's 40% alpaca, 40% cotton, and 20% wool. So it's the cardigan that they had knit up with this was at a, I want to say it was like a 14, 16, 18, somewhere in their stitch gauge. So think like Love Note, Lento, that kind of gauge where it's like sort of open and drapey. And it's like got that alpaca fluff in it, but it's also cotton and wool. I took a picture. Did I take a picture of the actual cardigan? I don't think I did. After this, I will look on my phone and find the pattern name and put it up here so you can see what I'm rambling about. The picture in the pattern on Ravelry isn't the greatest, but it'll give you an idea. It's got some like eyelets up on the top, and then it's just like a nice cardigan. So that was my first, well, that was an impulse, but gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So that was from Yarnify. And I think the last thing I got from Yarnify was this guy. This is a local yarn dyer in Illinois, I believe. Yes, Clinton, Illinois. And it's called Leading Men Fiber Arts. I think they're actually quite a large dyer, and a lot of yarn stores carry, like, wholesale their stuff and carry their stuff in their shops. I've never seen it in Canada, but I've seen it on Instagram lots. I love the rainbow yarn ball on the tag. Ball band. Oh my god, my brain is so not finding words today. So this is a fingering weight 80/20 superwash merino, and 20% silk. I did not realize that. I just saw 80/20 and I thought it was just a regular 80 merino, 20 nylon. Ooh, that makes this even better. I'm so much happier that I bought it now. Anyway, it's 150 gram skein. So I had on my list of things to look for another outline tee. So I've made one outline tee already in Lavender Lemonade from Polka Dot Creek, which I put a short video, I think they're called shorts, on YouTube recently, like a couple weeks ago, of the process from beginning to end when we dye Lavender Lemonade. So that colorway I made an outline tee in, and I love it, but I want another one that's more neutral, because that one is like neon speckles and create like super fun colors, but I wanted like a more neutral one. And this is 150 grams, 600 yards. So I think I used like maybe 1.5 skeins of fingering weight yarn for my first outline tee. So I believe that this 150 gram skein should be enough for an outline tee for me. This colorway is called Sandcastle. So it's a really nice, just sandy beige with some darker speckles, and I think it's going to make a gorgeous outline tee. That's a Jessie May pattern as well. So that was my time at Yarnify, and then I went from Yarnify to Firefly. What was it called? Firefly Fiber Arts Studio, I believe. I was very excited to go to this one because they're an all-natural yarn shop, so they don't carry any yarn that has nylon in it. They don't carry anything. I can't remember. She told me the thing. It's all natural. They do have some superwash yarn in there, but it's all like natural yarn that doesn't have any, not bad stuff in it, but like it's just all natural. So this was the store where I did the most damage, for sure. I had a little section set out for myself on the couches. They had these awesome, like bright pink couches where you could sit and knit beside this big window. It was beautiful. Their yarn store is really, really nice. If you're ever in Chicago, you should go there. So I had like this chair where I was keeping all the stuff that I bought because there was no way I was carrying it all around with me. I think I probably had 10 sweater quantities on that chair at some point, and so I had to like kind of tone it down a little bit, but I still bought a lot. The first one that just absolutely jumped out at me and was like, I have to. It's non-negotiable. This yarn is coming home with me. So I have never heard of this yarn before. It is a yarn that is made in Peru, and I'm told that it is the lady that worked there told me that they hand dye this yarn. It is called Quinoa premium yarn, and it says luxury blend DK naturally dyed. So it's not even like acid dyes, they're using natural botanical dyeing. And it is 70%, so I'm looking at my other tag here, 70% fine Junin wool, which I don't know what that means, but it's soft and delicious. And it's 30% baby Surrey alpaca. So it doesn't really have, it has maybe a teeny tiny bit of a halo, but you can't really see it. But it is so soft and squishy and beautiful. This colorway is called Strawberry. So it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous pink. And I am going to, what did I say about this? It's a DK weight. Yeah, I said that. So I'm going to make the Semper V-neck sweater with this. It is by, I think it's Knit Pearl Girl. I didn't write down all my plans that I had for this yarn. I'm pretty sure it's the Knit Pearl Girl. I will put a picture up here of it's like just like a fairly simple V-neck sweater, which I don't have. I have never made a V-neck sweater, and I want one, and I want one in this color. So that is that. I bought 4 of them. That was the yardage that it said on the pattern. I can't imagine I'm going to use them all. This is 273 yards per skein. I probably am only going to use 3, but stay tuned. And again, as I've said before, I buy all these things with plans and then I change my plans. So who knows? But I'm pretty sure, I think that is the yarn that I'm the most excited about of all the yarns that I bought. So I think that one's going to get made sooner than later. Okay, what else do we have here? They also had this Ovis, etc. says grown and spun in South America and hand dyed with greener shades acid dyes, which is, I don't know, it says GOTS, certified no heavy metals, in Germany. So I'm not sure if, okay, here's Ovis, etc. is the name of the company. And then this is the information about this yarn. It is so gorgeous. It is fingering weight. It is 60% wool, 20% ramie, and 20% silk. 464 yards per skein. So it is so soft. It's so squishy. So I bought 2 of these. I had a couple of fingering weight t-shirts on my list of things that I wanted to make. And now I'm thinking of what they were. Oh, one is the new t-shirt that Tori Knits just came out with. It has, what's it called? Uptown tee or downtown? I'll put a picture up here. It has like really nice, like sort of lace eyelet cap sleeves and just like, I think it's a scoop neck. I can't remember. I have so many patterns in my head, you guys. Oh my God. So I bought 2 of this color, which is called Toffee. And I bought 2 of this color, which is called Wine. So there's the Uptown Tee, and there was another fingering weight one. Oh shoot, I can't remember what it was, but I had 2 or 3. I think maybe the other one was a V-neck. Yes, it was a V-neck. I'm going to figure out which one it is, and I'll put a picture up here of like the Ravelry page of the pattern name and designer and stuff. I'm pretty sure it was a V-neck. Anyway, I bought those, and then one more sweater quantity and another impulse. This one is called Lore, and it is also by the Fiber Company. You can see down here it says the Fiber Company. It says Wool as Story. I think this is maybe one of, I can't remember. I shouldn't extrapolate things about yarn that I don't know. It is 100% Kent lamb's wool and is sourced and produced in England. So it says it is processed in a mill in England's historical textile region of West Yorkshire. This is 100% lamb's wool from the Romney sheep breed, an honest woolen spun DK weight yarn that blooms into beautiful knitted fabric. So again, DK weight. Most of the sweaters and things I have on my master list of things that I want to knit, a lot of them are DK weight, sweaters, t-shirts, that kind of thing. So this is, I don't know if it has a colorway name. Oh yes, shade name says Reliable. And it's like a really deep dark navy. That's kind of brighter than it actually is. That's pretty close. It's a really dark, like midnight navy blue. And what did I have in mind for that? There's some, I have a big long list of DK weight sweaters that I wanted to make. I can't remember. It's going to be something beautiful because it is beautiful and there's no way around it. The last thing that I bought there was an impulse, and just because recently when we were dyeing yarn at work, we made an Easter bouquet, and we made it out of a bunch of like kind of leftover yarn, or not leftover yarn, leftover dye that we had. We had been dyeing something else that day, and we had sort of like half jugs or quarter jugs left of the dye. And so we just kind of filled up the jug, and so it was like a more diluted version. Anyway, one of the colors in there I was and still am obsessed with. It was like the color that we were dyeing it on something else is like a neon green. And then when we diluted it down, it was still neon green, but it was the neon like pastel green. Oh, it is so beautiful. And like, it's not repeatable because we don't remember, like sometimes we fill it up and then it's still too strong. So we like put half into another jug and fill them so they're like double diluted. Like we don't remember what we did exactly, but it was this amazing like neon pastel green. This color reminded me of that. It's not exactly the same, but I saw it, and I saw it was hand dyed in Chicago, and I had to have it. So this is that. It is called Idlewild Designs is the name of the dyer. Hand dyed in Chicago. The colorway is called Algae. It is a 4-ply fingering weight, 100% Peruvian Highland wool, 495 yards a skein. So I just had to have that. And then I saw that the same dyer, this is a different base, but same dyer, also had this. And I put these two together and went, yeah, that's good stuff. So this is called Minty Fresh, is the name of the color, and the base is single ply fingering 100% US wool. Same dyer, Idlewild. So this is a single, this is a 4-ply, but they're both so squishy and pretty. So those are my beautiful babies from Firefly Fiber Arts Studio, the natural yarn store in Chicago. I have, like I said, I literally have a suitcase over here full of all the yarn that I bought. I had a little bit of a packing situation, My husband really, really, really likes it when we can travel carry-on and not check a bag. Mostly because the Calgary airport, for the last, I don't know, since COVID probably, if you're flying international and you come in and you have a checked bag, you have to wait at least an hour for your bags to come out on the carousel. Like, it's, maybe it's everywhere, but Calgary is the only place we fly home to. So we really, like, when we've been traveling and we're exhausted, the last thing you want to do is sit there and wait for an hour and a half or an hour or whatever for your bags to come out so you can go home. So I was able to pack on the way down there my dresses, my shoes, my everything in a carry-on bag. I was very proud of myself. And then I got down there and I went on a yarn crawl and I went, oh shit, how am I gonna get all this yarn home? So a few things got sacrificed. I left a few things behind, mostly like toiletries that were 100 mils or less, like travel size, shampoo and deodorant and whatever, like that I can just get more at home. And I left behind my flapper dress, but it was just a cheap Amazon flapper dress. I did not want to spend a ton of money on that, so I had no trouble leaving that behind because I'm never gonna wear it again. So I left that behind. I also left behind the stole, the faux fur stole that I made. I've showed in previous episodes. I made the fete stole by 2 of Wands. I made that for the Prohibition night to wear with my flapper dress, which I did. I'll put a picture here. We didn't get very many pictures from that night of like the outfit. So this is probably just gonna be a picture my husband took of just when he was sitting beside me at the table. We got like our hair and makeup done and stuff. So I look very different in this picture because I'm wearing a shit ton of makeup. I don't usually wear, when I took my makeup off that night, it took like 2 full makeup wipes to get it all off. I've never had that much makeup on my face before, but it was like the full smoky eye, everything. Anyway, that stole took up a lot of room in my suitcase and I made it for that occasion. It was not expensive yarn and I was never going to use it again. So I decided to leave it behind. I had already decided I was going to leave it behind. And then one of the ladies that we were at the dinner with, that we traveled with, she really loved it. She was offering to pay me to make her one. So I just gave it to her. I said, you can have it. I was gonna leave it behind. I'm not gonna ever wear it again. And she was just like flabbergasted and thank you so much. And I was like, this is perfect. Because now I have room for my yarn. I don't have to feel guilty that I left behind this thing I knit. I gifted it to someone. Like, I'm the hero here. So yeah, I left a few things behind to make room for all my yarn. And it worked out pretty well. I think I said I took a picture. This, like, the entire 1/2 of my suitcase, carry-on suitcase, was full of yarn. And I had to like zip it open. You know how you can like accordion, open it like an accordion to make it bigger? It was zipped open. So there's like a lot of yarn in there. So after Firefly, my last stop was, oh man, Knit One Chicago. It was a beautiful yarn store, and they carry a lot of really nice yarn. They carry Spin Cycle, they carry Farmer's Daughter, they carry Plucky Knitter, they carry, there was a lot of really nice high-end yarn there. They also carry a lot of commercial yarn. They had Fiber Company, they had a lot. They had a lot to choose from. At this point, I had already spent a lot of money on yarn, so I was kind of winding it down and it was my last one. And the one thing that I had on my list that I really, really wanted still was yarn for a pressed flowers shawl. I will put that up here. I am so obsessed with the original color of the sample, and I might make a second one. They didn't have colors like that in this store or any of the stores I went to I was looking for. But if you, my brain is going 90 miles an hour. My work, Polka Dot Creek, we have our own website, or we have our own podcast called Easily Distracted by Yarn. And we published an episode last week. And if you go watch that episode, you will see I am wearing a Pressed Flowers shawl in that episode that was knit by my friend and coworker, Lisette. Oh shoot. I always forget her Instagram name. I'm so sorry, Lisette. I'll put it up here. She knit a sample for the shop with Polka Dot Creek yarn of the Pressed Flower shawl, and it is beautiful. Like, I had admired the shawl before and thought, you know, it's nice, and like the cardigan is nice, but the way the cardigan is constructed, there's no way I'm ever gonna make it. The pullover is nice, it's okay. The hat is nice or whatever, but the shawl was the one I was the most interested in. And then after Lisette knit this sample and I felt it and I put it on, because it's DK weight, so it's squishy and warm and cozy, and I was like, I need to knit this. I just need to. So that is what I was on the lookout for. And the colors that she knitted in, the Polka Dot Creek yarn that she knitted in, I think we're gonna do kits for it in the fall. And I might actually make one in those colors too. Just like, I'm obsessed with it right now. It was so beautiful. So what I did is buy yarn for that at Knit One Chicago. This was my only purchase at Knit One Chicago. Besides, I bought a little thing of like lip stuff there, but I don't know where that is. So I bought it's DK weight is the yarn for the shawl. I think there's different weights for different Pressed Flowers patterns, but for the shawl you want DK weight. So they had the Farmer's Daughter Fibers, Pishkin, and that is a little brighter. It's like a really nice, this is a really nice dark purple, espresso-y kind of. The name of the colorway is called BSN. And it's, again, the Pishkin, where is the fiber content? 100% Montana and Wyoming Rambouillet. And it's 255 yards to 100 grams. So that's like a DK weight. It really feels like it's thicker than a DK weight. It feels like a worsted weight. But when you pull it out, maybe it's just the way that it's spun. It's just really thick and juicy. But yeah. I'm a little concerned that I'm gonna run out of yarn, but I didn't want to buy an entire third skein because the yardage, I might just make it with the one size smaller needle and maybe that will help. But I have these two for the main color, and then they had a whole bunch of colors of Spin Cycle, and I got this one. It's called Water Witch, and this is the Dream State base, which is the worsted base, but it feels more like a DK to me. Like their sport weight base feels like a fingering to me, and their worsted feels like a DK. So I bought the worsted weight base because I feel like it's more of a DK. Where is the yardage? 150 yards. So it's, I don't know. This is a 50 gram, I think, or is it 100? Why doesn't it say what the weight is? Usually they're 50 gram skeins. Anyway, it's 150 yards and it says worsted weight. So anyway, the colors are so pretty, like the greens and the pinks. And I just think that this as the flowers and this as the main color will make an absolutely gorgeous shawl. So I bought 3 of those and 2 of these. That was the yardage in the pattern. We'll see how much I use if I'm using a smaller needle, but that is that. That's the end of my yarn crawl acquisitions. The lady that worked there felt bad for me that it was the day before a local yarn store day, because they were having a big sale the next day, and they were like giving stuff away with minimum purchase. The other thing that they carry there is La Bien Aimée, They didn't have a very big selection, so there wasn't really anything that caught my eye. But Amy from La Bien-Aimée is going to Chicago this summer, I think, to do a trunk show. She's been there and done a trunk show there before, so that's pretty cool. And they had some La Bien-Aimée bags. This is a La Bien-Aimée Christmas bag, so she just tossed this in there for me because she felt bad for me that I wasn't getting any of the sale. And she also, this was like, I think it was a minimum $100 purchase on local yarn store day, you got a Knit One Chicago water bottle. And so she threw that in there for me too, because she felt bad for me. I didn't ask for any of the deals. She just threw that in for me. So that was really nice. She also told me not to tell anybody, but you guys won't tell, right? Local yarn store day is over now. Yeah, so that's all my acquisitions. This is gonna be a really long episode. I think that's all of those things. I was gonna do things in my knitting room with my needle storage, but I think maybe I'll do that next time because this is getting a little bit long. I did want to say, I'm gonna announce my giveaway here in a sec. I was going to talk about my planning and my master list. I don't have it with me, but like I should find it, but like it has like scribbles all over it, and it has like different colors of highlighter all over it for like, this is a project I have the yarn for, like this is a project I want to look for yarn for in Chicago. This is one I want to look for yarn for in Montreal. Because like there are some that I really want Sonder yarn for. There's some that I just found out that the Wandering Flock is going to be at Knit City Montreal. So now I'm really screwed because if you've seen the Wandering Flock, they have the most amazing neon pastels, like unbelievable. So luckily, well, maybe not luckily, the Sonder Yarn booth and the Wandering Flock booth are almost beside each other, like in the rows. One is facing this way, one's facing this, like, anyway, they're very close to each other. So I'm gonna spend a lot of money like in that one tiny little area of the marketplace. I also just found out that Needles at the Ready, Kevin and Ray, are coming to Knit City, which is exciting. And I don't think they watch this or know who I am, but I'm gonna just stay tuned and wait for, maybe possibly they might DM me to let me know the details of the, like, you know, the Powerhouse Podcasters meetup in Montreal. So I'm just I'm open, I'm available, and Kevin and Ray, hit me up if you're interested in some Canadian podcaster meetup. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I have like 700 followers or something like that. So, or no, not followers. What are they called? Subscribers. Which leads me to my giveaway. I don't particularly, like, I'm not in this for the subscribers and whatever. But it's kind of fun to like get new subscribers and like have people join and say, oh, I just found your podcast and this is like, you're kind of my vibe. And like I'm not everyone's vibe. I definitely have had a few like not my vibe comments, and that's fine. I am not everyone's cup of tea. If yeah, I'll leave it at that. But if you would like, I am going to do a giveaway. I am trying to get, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, because that's kind of like, I don't know, a goal, something fun. So if people want to leave some comments below, how am I working this? I obviously did not think about this ahead of time. I was like, I'm gonna do a giveaway. I'd like to get to 1,000 subscribers, but like if I make the giveaway at 1,000 subscribers, then I won't give it away until then. I don't know how. Obviously I need to shut this down because my brain is wandering. I'll just do the giveaway I'll just announce it on the next episode, even if I don't get to 1,000 subscribers. That's fine. I would like to just give some stuff away because that's kind of fun. I'm not sure if I've mentioned this on this podcast before. I've mentioned it on the Easily Distracted by Yarn podcast, but my cabin that I have, that our family has on Vancouver Island, where I did a podcast from before, we have, our beach is shells. It's not a sandy beach, but at the very top of it are all the like tiny little shells that have been broken down, and like that'll eventually be sand at one point. But I like to walk around the beach and collect the little shells and then come home and make stitch markers with them. So this is one that I've made, and here's another. And they're just like, they're really, really light. And I like making that. So I thought from our last trip, when I podcasted last time, I brought home a bunch more. So I have a whole bag full of little shells that I'm gonna drill holes in and make stitch markers from. And I thought I might give a set of those away along with a skein of yarn. This skein of yarn was hand dyed by yours truly. This was when I very first started working at Polka Dot Creek and was just like obsessed with dyeing yarn. I came home and like had some yarn and was just like messing around. And this is just kind of what came out of it. So there's like some blues in there, some greens and some browns. So I don't know why I chose those colors. I think they were just colors that I had. I don't know what, like a single skein shawl maybe, or socks, or whatever floats your boat. So anyway, hand dyed by me, and some stitch markers hand made by me. So I think I'll make like a set of stitch markers, maybe like 4 or 5, and then maybe one bigger progress keeper. I have a couple that are a little bit bigger that wouldn't work very well for stitch markers, but I can make like a progress keeper with like a clasp that opens. So yeah, if you want to leave a comment below, what should be the thing that people leave in the comments below? People are always doing this on podcasts. I'm like, why didn't you think about this ahead of time? And I didn't think about it ahead of time. Maybe tell me what your favorite local yarn store is. What local yarn stores you visited on local yarn store days, since that was recent. Or if you don't have a local yarn store, maybe just tell me what your favorite online yarn stores are that you like to order from. And yeah, I'll just randomly pick. I don't know how to do this. I've never done this before, but I'll figure it out before my next episode. And I will announce it on my next episode and ask you to contact me. So watch out for scammers. I am not going to contact you via YouTube, via email, whatever the thing is. I will not reply to your comment on YouTube to let you know that you have won and please contact me. That's not how this will work. There are lots of scammers, scam bots out there trying to get people on giveaways. I will announce it on my next episode. Who won, what the username is, and ask you to contact me. So there's my legal cover your ass caveat, whatever you call it. Anyway, I think it's time for me to go because this is long and I need a drink and I need to have some lunch and I need to go spend the rest of the day knitting on my deck in the backyard without anyone talking to me. So thank you for joining me, and I understand if you maybe need a cigarette after all that. I don't smoke, but I used to. I was like smoked in university because that was the cool thing to do, but yeah, I'm trying to find, anyway, just rambling now. So I will sign off. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time.